big story for a lot of people in the business world, and that is a new ranking from Bloomberg Businessweek of the worst, I've said first to worst business school, but a ranking of the top business schools in the country. If it were law schools, I'd be paying more attention, but it's business schools.
It's business schools, and I have to say, a lot of people pay attention to this. So I've had a chance to really dig into this over the last couple days, owing to the Bloomberg Businessweek show, and 30 years in, they redid the entire methodology here. So Caleb Solomon, one of our top editors at Bloomberg, was essentially given kind of a blank sheet of paper and said, how do we actually think about business education? Tom knows this, we all know this. It's an investment ultimately. You know, this is not that you don't go to business school and be like, I sort of want to find myself and figure out what I want to be when I grow up. There's an opportunity cost to it, and there's an actual cost to it. It is not a cheap degree. So they looked at compensation, very important. They looked at learning, they looked at networking, and I think importantly, they looked at entrepreneurship.
Oh, that's interesting.
Number one, Stanford.
Stanford.
By a lot.
And by the way, Harvard wasn't even number 2.
No.
Who was number 2?
Wharton. At University of Pennsylvania, Harvard, and rounding out the top 5 were MIT, Sloan School, and Chicago, the Booth School.
And what were the worst?
Let's show those right now.
Oh, I got it.
The bottom of the table.
I've got it down to 58, which is Case Western Reserve is what I have. Oh, well, it goes to 92.
All the way down. San Diego State, Denver, and Oregon. So, you know, there was a lot of movement, and I do encourage people to go online and sort of poke around a little bit.
Okay, so Tom, you went to law school.
Yes.
I went to law school.
Right.
You've done a lot of business. If you take all the business people, I'll take all the business people doing, can you tell the difference according to whether they went to business school or not as to how they do in business?
No. I think the
That was a plant, by the
It was
way.
not a plant. Honest to goodness, it was not a plant.
You're not from Flint, right?
And by
Just
the way,
want to be clear.
George Parker, the retired dean of the Stanford Business School, is on our board. So George, Stanford, first class. But there's a winner even on a muddy track, right? So you pick the horse.
Yeah.
You don't pick the track. And all of these schools are terrific, but it's at the end of the day, those arrows in the quiver sometimes are limiting. And I always joke with George that, you know, the most brilliant students from Stanford drop out in year 2.
Right.
Right? They're doing something else. So this investment that you talked about, which is really the key, the opportunity cost of going to business school is huge.
Right.
But I think it's about the athlete. All these schools, the top 10 schools, including my alma mater, USC, which is, you know, skyrocketed in the last few years, have done much better as they move to an entrepreneurial set. It used to be you come out of business school, you go to work for Procter & Gamble. Then you go to work for Goldman Sachs. Now, what do they do?
And let's also be clear, a lot of what you're paying for, and that's why networking is a key element of this, is you are paying for the opportunity to essentially hobnob with very successful people. One of the levels that they went down on this, which I find fascinating, is, okay, you can network, but do you actually get a job from that? Which is really what it means. It's like, oh, that's great. Oh, you went to USA, I went to USA. That's cool, like, cheers. But can you actually do
I don't know if you get
business?
a job, but I do know, for example, Jamie Dimon went to Harvard Business School with Steve Burke,
right,
who runs NBC Universal. That's not coincidental. I mean, they know each other through their careers.
Right.
And
exactly.
as we know, David knows everyone on this program through law school or Flint, Michigan. So if you don't go to law school with David, you can just go to Flint, Michigan.
By the way, we didn't talk about where Michigan ended up on this business score. It was not very pretty.
Well,
we didn't
top
go there,
20,
so
though. Top 20.
Top 20, okay.
There you go.
At Michigan, that's not good enough.
And just as a programming note, we will be doing our Bloomberg Businessweek show from Stanford tomorrow, so a lot more to come on the
very
business
cool
school rankings.